Alright, good evening everybody, it's your boy Akeem and welcome to today's vlog. Here to finally wrap things up with all my previews for the 2013 college football season. This final preview, I need to talk about 9 of the 9 AQ conferences in the 2013 college football season. Talking about the teams that are not in the BCS major bowl conferences, and I really think there's some teams that can make it to a BCS bowl game and bust their way into the BCS series. Now last season we had two teams in particular, Notre Dame and Northern Illinois, busting their way into the BCS bowl games, but both teams got stomped respectively in their matches. Starting with Northern Illinois, they lost 31-10 in that Orange Bowl, and for Notre Dame, they lost a treacherous 42-14 loss against Alabama, who became the national champions. Now, speaking of Notre Dame, this season they had a lot of high hopes in their true freshman quarterback, who was a true freshman last season, in Everett Golston, but he's actually dismissed from the team. He's actually on academic probation because of academic misconduct. He's still part of the Notre Dame school, but he's not going to be able to play this season, which means this opens the door for quarterback Tommy Rees, who will be named that starting quarterback for week 1 of this season. But there's still some other players in particular, like Malik Zaire. He can actually start at quarterback, but it still belongs to Tommy Rees because he has the experience. And I still think he has enough poise to lead this team to a couple of key victories. Now I have some impact players for you guys headed into this season. Starting at the quarterback position, 4 players in particular, starting with Derek Carr out of Fresno State. Passed for over 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions. For San Jose State, they got a good quarterback as well, and David Fowles. He had 32 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He had a great season and actually led this team to only 2 losses, 1 close loss to a Rose Bowl champion and Stanford Cardinal. Jordan Lynch out of Northern Illinois, he's a spectacular player, and he can actually maybe be a sleeper of this year's Heisman if he leads this team to an undefeated season and another MAC championship. Now he had 3,100 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. But also he was 4th in the nation in rushing with 1,815 yards to go along with 16 rushing touchdowns. He had a great year. And for Utah, they have a good quarterback, and Chucky Keaton, he had 27 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions, and he orchestrated this Aggie team to just 2 close losses in this season. They only had 2 close losses, which was 3 points or under. So this team can also go undefeated coming towards the end of the year and bust their way to a BCS bowl game. Now at the running back position, starting with Antonio Andrews out of Western Kentucky, he actually finally led this team to a bowl bid that they have not reached in many seasons, and he rushed for over 1,600 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and he had 11 scores. He had a great season. And at the other running backs, 2 players in particular in the same team, Trayon Durham and Dree Archer out of Kent State. Both these 2 players is a good thunder and lightning combo, with Durham being more of a workhorse, while Dree Archer is the home run threat, average 9 yards per carry. Both these 2 players combined for over 2,700 yards rushing and 30 rushing touchdowns running the football. They had a great season together as a great tandem. Now at the receiver position, I have 2 players in particular, both respectively number 9 and number 10 in receiving yards last season in the nation. Starting with Devontae Adams out of Fresno State, 1,312 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns. And Noel Grisby, who another player I'm going to be looking at as a senior coming towards the 2014 NFL draft. He's the number 10 leading receiver for San Jose State. He had 1,307 yards receiving and 9 scores, being that leading target for David Fowles. Now defensively, I have 3 players in particular I'm going to be looking at as impact players, sticking with San Jose State and cornerback Ben Weaker, sorry I mispronounced your name. 7 interceptions last season, tying 2nd in the nation. At BYU, they have a good defensive end, Kyle Van Noy, 13 sacks last season to go along with 51 tackles. He is another prospect I'm looking towards the 2014 NFL Draft. And for Notre Dame, Stephen Tuitt, who had 12 sacks last season, even though he was overshadowed by star middle linebacker Monte Teo. But Tuitt did his thing, and he held his own throughout the season, except for the national championship. But he still had a good season overall with 12 sacks. Now, I have some couple of breakthrough athletes I need to talk about. Some players in particular, I think they're going to have a great season coming up. At the quarterback position, I have two players. Terrence Broadway out of Louisiana Lafayette. He had 17 touchdown passes to go along with 9 interceptions, and I think he's going to improve this season running and throwing the football. He's a good dual threat in that Sun Belt Conference. Representing out of Nevada, Cody Fajardo. He had 20 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions to go along with 2,700 yards throwing the football and over 1,100 yards rushing the football with 12 scores. And I think he's going to lead this Wolfpack team to another great season, and this is going to be a very competitive year in that WAC conference. At the running back position, I have a couple players in particular, starting with Kenneth Dixon out of Louisiana Tech. Yes, he had a great true freshman season, over 1,100 yards rushing and 27 rushing touchdowns, leading the nation. He had a big season, but he was still overshadowed by quarterback Kobe Cameron as well as wide receiver Quentin Patton. But those two players are no longer with the team, so all eyes is going to be on Kenneth Dixon, and he's going to have to rack up the more yards to keep this Bulldog team to hopefully to a conference championship. And the second running back I need to talk about, Jawan Chisholm out of Akron. I think he could be a great running back for this team. Even though this is a bad team, they still have a good running back behind him. He just rushed for just under 1,000 yards, but I think he's going to have at least a 1,300 yard season and make his name for himself in that MAC conference. At the receiver position, I have only one player in particular, Tommy Schuler out of Marshall. He actually had a great year, 110 receptions for 1,138 yards and 6 touchdowns. But he had a good receiver opposite of him in Aaron Dobson, who pulled off a great circus catch, some good highlight reel to make it into the National Football League, being drafted by the New England Patriots. So Tommy Schuler, who's going to be a sophomore entering this season, I think he's going to have to step it up and be that great leader offensively and rack up some more yardage and be a key star in college football. Defensively, I have two players in particular I'm going to be looking at, starting with Boise State's DeMarcus Lawrence. He had 9.5 sacks last season to go along with 47 touchdowns, 47 tackles, but he missed on 4 games. And because of those 4 games lost, I think a lot of people lost recognition of him. But if you do know him well, he's a great player, a good defensive end, and I think he will have at least a double-digit season in sacks this upcoming year if he stays 100% healthy. And for Louisiana Lafayette, Rodney Gillis, I'm going to keep an eye on him. He had 5 interceptions last season with 75 tackles. Now I have only 2 incoming freshmen I need to talk about for the same team, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who had a great job recruiting the players coming out of high school. But 2 of their top recruits, Jalen Smith and Greg Bryant, are the top 2 players I'm going to be looking at. Starting with Jalen Smith, the outside linebacker. With Monte Teo no longer with the team, he's now with the San Diego Chargers. And even though he was the middle linebacker, at outside linebacker, Jalen Smith can start right away as a true freshman and rack up some points and get some good recognition for that defense. Offensively, they lost 2 key players in Sierra Wood, an all-purpose player, Theo Reddick, the all-purpose player. Sierra Wood was the running back, while Theo Reddick was more used as a running back / wide receiver. Both those 2 players are no longer with the team, so Greg Bryant can step up right away and start as a true freshman at running back. I think he could be due for a 1,000-yard season, but we will see. Notre Dame still have a lot of tricks up their sleeve and utilizing a lot of key players coming out of high school. And Brian Kelly was willing to do so, and I think he's going to use Greg Bryant a lot offensively. Now, I'm going to wrap this video up, coming towards the end of this video, giving you all the key games that I think you should guys mark your calendars for these non-AQ teams. Starting for BYU on September 7th, they're going to be hosting my Texas Longhorns. I think they're going to lose that game, but I will give you a preview for that game in particular. September 20th, Boise State is going to be playing against Fresno State. That's going to be a good game to watch. Actually, going back to September 7th, Notre Dame's going to be playing at Michigan. That's a good rivalry matchup. On September 27th, San Jose State's going to be hosting Utah State. This game can determine who will win that WAC championship. On September 28th, Notre Dame's going to be hosting Oklahoma. That could be a good revenge game for the Sooners. That's going to be a competitive game to watch. October 5th, Northern Illinois is going to be traveling to face the Kent State Golden Flashers. This could be a rematch of last season's MAC championship. That's going to be a good game to watch. On October 19th, USC is going to be to be playing at Notre Dame. That's another good game to watch. October 25th, Boise State's going to be playing at BYU. November 23rd, BYU is going to be at Notre Dame. November 29th, San Jose State is going to be at hosting Fresno State. That's going to be another great game for you guys to watch. And on November 30th, Notre Dame is going to be playing at Stanford. Those are a couple key matches for you guys to watch. Now I have a couple of non-conference games, other non-conference games other than BYU and Notre Dame, but those two teams are independent. But kind of a couple of non-conference games that I think that you guys should mark your calendars for. On August 31st, Boise State's going to be playing at Washington. That's going to be a good test for both these two teams to start off their season. And I'm going to be looking more towards Washington. Hopefully Keith Price can turn things around before they head into the Pac-12 conference play. September 7th, San Jose State is going to be playing at Stanford. Now last season they had a close loss to 20-17, and I think they're trying to rebound from that and turn things around and try to lead this, and David Fauci to try to lead this team to an undefeated season and possibly a BCS bowl bid. If they beat Stanford and go undefeated, they should make it to a BCS bowl game. On September 21st, two last games I need to talk about. On September 21st, Utah State is going to be playing at USC. This could be a big test and a big step for the Aggies. And on that same day, Kent State is going to be playing at Penn State. Penn State is still ineligible, but this could be a big test for Kent State. If they go undefeated, they can possibly make it to a BCS bowl game. So those are all the non-conference games for all three of these teams, talking about Boise State, San Jose State, Utah State, and Kent State for these non-AQ performances. And this could be some big tests before they head into conference play. And that's why I had to call them out. Now, I'm going to wrap things up with all of my predictions for the end of the season. Now, my Heisman Trophy Award winner, I'm going to actually go with Marcus Mariota out of Oregon. I know a lot of people would disagree with me on this one, but I still think some people will actually agree with me because he's a good-time dual-threat quarterback. I think the stats is going to go up throwing the football. He has a lot of weapons, and he's going to do well. Hopefully, if he leads this team to an undefeated season, he would definitely make it a trip to New York City. And now I have to go with him for the Heisman, for my Heisman Trophy candidate, my Heisman Trophy prediction. I have to go with Mariota. I think he's going to lead this team to possibly an undefeated season. Now, my national championship, I did say Marcus Mariota possibly leading Oregon to an undefeated season. I believe this national championship is going to be between Oregon and Alabama, and I cannot doubt the Crimson Tide again. I'm going to have to go with Alabama going for a three-peat, 3 straight national championships led by Nick Saban. I think that A.J. McCarron is going to end his career as a national championship 3 times in a row. So I'm going to have to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide as the 2013 national champions. Now that wraps things up with all my videos. The next time I'm going to catch you guys is week 1 of the college football season. But going towards the end of this month, I'm actually going to go on a cruise to the Caribbean. Finally get to go on vacation and have a great time. But I will still post a video just before I head out for my vacation. And I'll catch you guys then, give you my predictions for week 1 of the college football season. Thank you for watching today's vlog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.